Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Art is Fluid. I know it's been a month since I've uploaded anything at all. Um, it's just life happened. I was traveling to my first friends trip, slash solo trip, whatever you call it, and I'm also like readjusting. A lot of experiences, a lot of fun. So yeah, just getting back to normal now, and finally also have some content matter to speak in my videos. So yeah, I'm here now. Hello. Okay. So yeah, what's the world we're living in today? What kind of world are we progressing into? Would be the big question. Like I said, the world I live in, everything is so structured around me. The people they have they have their way of life. They are quite many of them are quite set in their ways. Systems are structured. Um, the general culture in people is very structured. So when that's the world, and I'm out here adapting to that because I don't have. This sounds very blunt when I say it, but I don't have structure in the most rigid terminology. Yes, I do have structure because maybe the way I'm living is structure enough for me, but maybe I don't have rigidity. You know, I sometimes I feel I'm a lot like water, um, and that can get problematic. It does get problematic in certain situations in my life because I'm too free flowing. I'm like, okay, let's go with that. If that's what you want, let's go with it. I don't stand my ground because yes, we're going with this decision, but is that truly making me happy, or am I just doing that because I don't want to create friction? Like, why am I doing that, right? So, what kind of world are we living in? And do you think having one or the other is a good idea? Or we need to have both? Because that's how we live in harmony, right? If we have both aspects, then there'll be a balance. You don't have somebody who's too free flowing, who just adapts to every single situation and just goes with every single decision and has nothing of their own. If that's the case, then we wouldn't have infrastructure, which is what makes life so much more easier, right? We wouldn't have that. Everything would be like, oh, okay, I don't feel like, like I don't feel like catching the bus today, or like, okay, say public transportation systems. If if we were also free flowing, would they exist? Because the concept of public transport is running on time and having a certain number, like having a frequency of transport touching down to these locations so everybody gets access to public transport. That's how this works. It works with a grid, it works in that manner. If it was free flowing, we wouldn't have public transport, we wouldn't have um, public transport in the most organized manner. We maybe wouldn't have buses to certain neighborhoods because the the contractor for that bus system or that city says, oh, yeah, I don't think there's a lot of traffic there anyways. We don't need it because it's just going, or like they're going with their feeling, There's no, and if somebody, again, is a very free flowing person in that team, they're like, oh, yeah, sure. There's no argument happening, there's no disagreement happening, and everybody's just flowing, and then a decision is made through that, which is not the best for larger societies, So that is a very, very random, very vague example, but that's the one that makes most sense to me. Like, I love structure, I love rigidity when it comes to systems. When I say systems, when it comes to services in the public, but I completely despise rigidity when it comes to human experience, when it comes to personality. That's when I despise it. Because yes, we require this um, structure to sort of function as a society. I totally agree. Okay, that's why first world countries are first world countries and developing countries are developing countries. That's why that difference exists, because the structure has been so strong for so many decades and centuries. It's like ingrained in the system that people just know it. They know what to fear, they know how it runs, they know there's no two ways about it. It's either straight or right. There's no U-turn, um, and that's why they work so well when it comes to infrastructure. But at the same time, when you have this ingrained in your social system, ingrained in your civic sense, ingrained in the way your roads are made, road rules, civic sense of the society, general culture with the people, and businesses and law and all of these things, when it's ingrained in that, it's going to flow into individual personalities as well, right? How is that? Like, there's no way to avoid that. That's going to happen. And that's why, this is a common joke. I would call it a joke because, we've been mocked for a long time, but it's a common joke that, oh, Indians are so colorful. They have song and dance and everything. Everything is a song and dance for them, They don't take anything seriously. This is like a joke that's been going on for generations, and I think only now, because of the internet, we get to change that narrative to a more positive version. So we've been mocked for years in the more negative aspect that all Indians do is sing and dance for everything. They don't take life seriously. Well, the way I look at it is, it's because life is so serious. We found a way around it, and we decided, hey, maybe music and dance and performance and comedy and taking life with a pinch of salt is much easier to deal with, rather than taking life as a big mountain on your head. So that's how I would like to change it. And this is possible because I think, again, I'm super biased, guys, because my heart is always going to be with India. But India as a society has a good balance of the free flowing and the rigid. So the lawmakers, the system makers, okay, maybe I would say there's the free flowing attitude is a bit higher than the rigid attitude, which is why we're still developing in terms of infrastructure. But in the larger scheme of things, it's because of this communal free flowing attitude that we probably have the biggest endurance to cope with life, because we don't take life so seriously. You know, like anything that comes your way, yeah, I got it. I'll figure it out. Like, I don't need to have a plan to figure it out. I will just take it as it comes to me, and I'll do what's right in that moment. And many times, functioning like that is a lot more calmer, is a lot more easier than having a set plan for everything. Again, I'm speaking as a free flowing person, so for me, plans stress me out. But that brings me back to the point that if you are a structured, grade, calendar cut person, and I would call that rigid because it's sort of opposing to my functioning, then maybe uh, being very lethargic, being very easy about things could stress you out. And that's okay. That's okay. That's the thing about the world, is we need to be okay with two different kinds of personalities. We need to be okay with it, and we need to be okay to live in harmony, because these two exist. But the growing world we are in, I think tolerance to such attitudes has reduced. So intolerance has increased, and people are not able to fathom that somebody can be different from me. But aren't we all humans, and aren't we all unique in our own ways? There's no way we can be similar to each other, because then we'll be clones, right? And then that's what AI is all about. We'll end up becoming uh, bots. Okay, will be so there. This is an example from a TV show I love, by the way. It's called Agents of Shield. It's called Marvel's Agents of Shield. So this is an offshoot of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You know, we've all watched the Avengers. So Agents of Shield was a TV series they created as an offshoot of the main franchise. Um, these agents are all related. They all work for Shield, which is the major organization from where all the Avengers come from. But this is the show only about the agents. So they're not really superheroes with mega powers, but they're superheroes with their intellect and their strategy and decision making skills and all of that. So this show, there was a season, one of the seasons, I think it was season 4 or season 5, I don't remember, where the plot was uh, about uh, robots. Okay, so one of the scientists on the team, he he collaborates with another scientist, and they're a little bit. I feel like scientists are artists. They're the one and the same. You know, it's a level of craziness that you amp up. So these two scientists collaborate with each other, and they bump up the crazy level a little bit too much, and they create clones, but not clones. They're actually robots of their fellow agents. That's what they create. So they look like clones, but there's basically a machine inside that body. It's not a real human body; it's a machine, and it's all algorithm, and it's codes, and that's how you run that bot. And eventually, they all look the same, but that's when the war starts between the agents and the bots, right? Because the bots get a mind of their own, and then they decided to like take over this entire base, and so on and so forth. That's how the season goes. You can give it a watch for more context. But what I'm trying to say is, even in that even in that story where they all look the same, okay, they literally look the same because these scientists created clones of the agents, but they put a machine inside. Even when they looked the same, they didn't behave the same. You could see the difference in humanity that the agent had, and that was taken out in the bot. Of course, that's literally every sci-fi bot movie you watch. Like the way they differentiate is, okay, bot no humanity, human has humanity. That's how it is. Anyways, so that's what happened. And eventually, by the end of the season, because the algorithm started writing itself, and one of the bots got super smart, she writes her own algorithm and she controls all the humans. So that's sort of like a revenge formula. But the point I'm coming to is, if we all think and go with the attitude that we're all one and the same and nobody different can exist to us, I think that's when extremism takes birth. Extremism is born because you think that, oh, we all need to, this is getting into a little bit of a religious direction, but let's go with that. Or we all need to follow a certain faith, okay? And if somebody isn't following that faith, oh, then they're wrong and they don't need to exist in this world. How is that fair? How is that fair? Oh, we all need to follow uh, this way of life. And this way of life meaning you grow up, you go to school, you go to work, you make money, You get a job, you get a wife or a husband, you get a child, you start a family, you get old, you retire, and then you die. That's the way of life. We all need to follow this structure, and if you don't, then I'm gonna outcast you from our community. Why? Why can't we coexist? Why can't we have similar, similar, I think, goals in life? And that similar goal being, we're all humans, we're all born in this world, and we're all eventually gonna die. But while we're here, let's live in harmony, let's live in peace, and let's try and love each other for the way we are. Let's accept each other for who we are. Let's not impose our own morals and values on somebody who's probably raised with a different system altogether. Maybe try to learn something from them. Maybe they can add something new to your life because of their uniqueness. And that's what I want probably to end this video with is this trip I went on was such an eye opener for me because I had I went with a bunch of people, so it was a friends trip. My best friend was the only one I really knew. The rest of the people I didn't really know them. They were strangers to me, but they were different personalities, right? So it's one of the first experiences in my adult life that I interacted with different kinds of people, very drastically different to who I am as a person. But I made it work. I made it work for that trip. I made sure we had a great time because that's what we're there for. That was our one solo reason to be there. Was to be there, have fun as young women, explore life, experience life, and go with the bag full of memories. That was the main aim. And it doesn't matter how drastically different you are as people. If this was steady, that's the best time you're gonna have. And that's when I learned to just let go and accept. I've never really been a fighter, to be honest. I've never really been somebody to fight somebody's beliefs, to fight somebody's way of being. But this trip made it even more stronger for me to just learn to let go and accept who somebody is for who they are and not try to change them because, yeah, in fact, I try to learn a lot from these people who are so drastically different from me. I learned that maybe sometimes planning is needed for a more effective, efficient way of enjoying life. Sometimes we gotta be uh, a bit more punctual and disciplined with the way we do things so that there's ease in the entire process. So yeah, that's how I'd like to leave you with this video is whether you're a free-spirited, free-flowing person or you're a rigid, structured, you know, calendar cut person, whatever you are. And here, I'm not putting any connotations to both of these personalities. Whoever you are, whatever you are, you're beautiful. And as long as you accept the opposite, you're fine. The minute we go into a little bit of extremism, that could be the birth of something far more darker, and we don't want that. So let's try and live in harmony and accept people for who they are. That's about it. And I'll see you guys next week for something else about how art is teaching me every day and how it exists in our life. Ta-da.